scope and history of heavy music is already such that it's not strange for us to have a band releasing their debut album in 2023 and with their own sound from 1993. It is precisely this primordial and cavernous blend of death and doom metal that the Americans' Tumulation used to present their sound. And it's not just in terms of the music they make, but also in terms of their entire sound aesthetic, with a production that harks back precisely to those exciting underground moments in extreme music. For fans of classic death/doom, we recommend Tumulation.
Mélancolia arrived on the giant Nuclear Blast label, and right from their debut they showed arguments that made us think they deserved to be featured on the German label. The Australian band play deathcore, and this would seem to be a disadvantage at first glance, since it's already a well-trodden ground with no new perspectives. However, what really captivates us is the way in which the band presents a fresh perspective, whether through the atmospheres they create or their approach to post-hardcore, partly precisely because of the atmospheres they create. So, for those who feel that deathcore suffers from too much repetition of its formulas, we must say that Histroff Rotten Teeth has an extremely positive impact because it manages to get around this and bring an album that we feel attached to. Which isn't easy.
It's amazing how many bands there are that share the name Eternity. This ones are from Norway and are now back after 3 years of publishing silence. And of course, being Norwegian, what they do is black metal. Although this was predictable, the quality turns out to be surprising. They bring us that 90s vibe, which is predictable, but they add a lot of muscle that makes their impact even more powerful. It's said that this was the band's first work in which they collaborated as a true unit, and the end result shows that. Solid and cohesive, a great album of violent black metal, full of good melodies and tremolo picking with 8 odes to Satan. A highlight is the epic finale, The Seventh Seal.
I was looking forward to hear the third album by the Canadians Red Cain, who have managed to impress us positively in all their previous visits to our world of metal. Nameless is no exception. It continues to offer a very refreshing approach to progressive metal, with an obvious modern tone that doesn't detract from what is most important, the ability to make great music. In just under 40 minutes, they manage to take us to so many places that bands can only dream of in 2 hours. Grandiose, melodic and passionate, difficult to define and therefore challenging, which only makes it all the more enjoyable to explore song after song, listen after listen. Probably their best work.
Norwegian's Nocturnal breed are one of the references in the mix of thrash/speed metal with the more extreme sound and imagery of black metal, and that alone guarantees our interest right from the start. This also carries with it a certain expectation that unfortunately Carry the Beast fails to fulfill. Lasting over 70 minutes, with a few bonus tracks thrown in, there are many questionable decisions that simply don't pack the punch we were expecting. From the title track lasting far too long, to a production that, although primitive, doesn't do these songs any favors, to having too many elements that were perfectly dispensable. Too many fillers and not enough killers, that's how you make a disappointment.
Stoned to death, that's the way this debut EP from Canada's Teeth hits you. Not to be confused with US Teeth, who play technical death metal. These Teeth bring an irresistible mix of hardcore, grindcore and modern trends that all come together to result in an EP that's not even 15 minutes long but doesn't give you room to breathe. And that's enough to immediately capture you. Of course, being an EP, what we have here is only an indication, but it's an indication that promises this will be a band to follow.
The apparent simplicity of the cover may also indicate a deceptive simplicity in the sound of Cobrafuma, whose self-titled album is their debut. It's dirty metal that goes from thrash to sludge, or even both, and it's deliciously addictive. Up-tempo rhythms, harsh vocals singing in Portuguese, and a general feeling that we're looking at a cross between Motorhead and Slayer, if they'd started out in Portugal, specifically in the city of Porto. An album that will appeal to anyone who enjoys their decadence of musical form.
The third album by Italians King Howl, but for us it's a debut. A debut that automatically made us fall in love. Rock, full of fuzz, full of blues and with a lot of soul that leaves you in love from the first moment. The viscerality of rock often appears to us today in a mythical way, without really having a parallel to point to. Until an album like this comes along that draws on harmonies, blues rhythms and the pain and decadence of American films, but which is already part of the world's culture. This is an album that conveys all that passion to which we all bow. It's a huge record that we recommend if you want to worship eternal rock.